Hello and welcome to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Rhanes, and today we have a very special guest, Rob Potter, who is a renowned contactee of the, can you say that, Rob?
Pleiadians and Venusians.
Yes, and he is sharing his knowledge freely about these worlds. He's had physical encounters since the age of 17, and he's given seminars worldwide for over 45 years. He runs a yearly conference in Mount Shasta called New Spiritual Paradigm Angels and ETs in the Multidimensional Universe. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's the conference name this year. It's going to be held on the beautiful slopes of this mountain in Mount Shasta, California. It'll be the 10th annual one from June 22nd to 25th. And I have quite a lineup of speakers. I have a 200-year-old Venusian. I have a couple of special guests as well. Dr. Raymond Keller, who lived on Venus for 3.5 months and was able to view the Akashic records to research his now 8 books on Venus.
Wow.
He's also written a Gospel of Thomas using the breastplate of Aaron and the Akashic record remote viewing, kind of it's called a bilocation signal,
Okay.
where he sits in his home and looks into the past. And he wrote the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Most people don't know that Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene. Some people know that. And they had 2 children at the time of his crucifixion. And she was pregnant. And Jesus's great uncle took them to France and then to Glastonbury.
Aha, well, we're going to be.
Maybe actually, you and I are going to be speaking at the Glastonbury Conference in the Portal to Ascension on the 11th through the 13th in Glastonbury, England. The links are on my website. And I will be doing a private one-day seminar on the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and the Divine Feminine with the author, Raymond Keller.
At the
So,
event.
yeah,
That's incredible. I'm so
not
excited for
those event. I'm doing my own event
huh?
prior to that for one day.
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to get the link for that as well. If I can make that, I'll definitely be going. That's so beautiful. You have quite you're like the Akashic Records with so much information about
I have
about this fun stuff. So I wanted to just sort of ease in some information because the idea of contactees, the idea of that there may be more than just this dimension and that there may be more than what we see like right in front of us is starting to expand. I think people's consciousness is starting to open. So I'd love for you to just start wherever it started. Just share some information. We want to learn about the Venetians for sure.
Venusians.
Venusians. Sorry, guys.
Venetians are from Venice, and
Venusians.
Venusians. Anyway, the planet Venus is our guardian planet. And some of my contacts started there in the 80s. And they happened to Laguna Beach. Just you go back. I remember when I was 8 years old, my mom was living in Pasadena, and I said, it's on my website, and I said, I was thinking about all the problems in the world and all the suffering. And I said, Mom, I started thinking, had these things. I go, what's out there in the universe? And she goes, it goes on forever. And I go, Mom, it can't go on forever. What do you think's out there? A fence? A wall? I said, I don't know. She goes, what's on the other side? And then my mind was blown. I went downstairs. I laid on a couch on my bed, and in the window, a light maneuvered in, and I received a download that in the future, which is happening right now, everything would come to the head, and many people would be removed from the earth. And I wasn't really sure about that, but then fast forward to living in Laguna Beach. My whole life a surfer, beach community, and you live very close now in Dana Point, another one of my little home areas there. And I met a NASA scientist named Dr. Fred Bell, whose great uncle invented the telephone. His father invented the automatic transmission and the alternator for Henry Ford, and he was fixing radio sets at the age of 8. Was drafted into the Air Force and was in charge of the highest powerful radar set on the West Coast at Point Reyes, California, the ANFS P-38. And during the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Venusians and other ships were coming down at 15,000 miles an hour, making right turns and shooting off to watch the operations. He didn't like that they were burning these reports, which they've been doing for many years. He made a stink, and they gave him an honorable discharge. So he went to work for NASA, and they started doing shoddy work on the capsules, and he made a stink there as a young, 24, 25-year-old. Like, who's this young kid? Oh, he's some electrical genius. Well, he's complaining. He went up the chain of command, and finally he confronted Werner von Braun in the hallway, embarrassed his supervisor, and said, "You're going to have problems in that capsule." And they fired him. He immediately filed suit. Then 3 men died on the Cape in a fire. And they came back, they gave him his money. He said, they said, "Fred, would you please," his name, they called him William, actually. They called him, "William, will you please, or Frederick William Bill." So they said, "Will you please take over the quality control on the electrician in all the capsules?" And he said, "No." And he went to work for JPL and Rockwell. And this is the more advanced aspect of the secret space program that was going on. And he said, he showed me pictures when he was working in the hangar of the Saturn rocket in Long Beach, how he said every day a UFO would come out and they would send out 2 probes. One would go around going right, and another one would come down going left, and then they would go back the other way. And so they were scanning everything every day on what they had done in there. So he was aware of UFOs, and then he had a contact at Giant Rock with 2 other guys, and went aboard a Pleiadian ship. And one guy talked to the girl and was like, "Hey, what you doing?" They're all very beautiful. And the other guy was a musician, and they had a sitar. So he sat down and started playing, and Fred went straight to the control panel, and he started learning about the Pleiadian spaceships and what they call the interstellar conversion process. And he was quite famous. And in 1975, he was handed this design of a jewelry piece that I sell. It's 144 pyramids in a concentric spiral, and it has a Cassegrain wave trap developed by NASA. It looks like a yin-yang symbol. And this is designed as divine intervention to help mankind help himself in a non-interference type of way. And this protects from stray microwaves and keeps the DNA intact. Mm-hmm. And you can muscle testing where you can actually breathe airplane glue and it'll test strong. I challenge anybody with any other necklace to come close to that type of technology that can overcome toxins. But there's a lot of crystals amplify thought forms. And so I eventually started having contacts and out-of-body experiences with Fred from his house. Their ships would settle into the building. They're higher dimensional. They come in, a golden light would reign in the room. I would do some Tibetan breathing exercises, and I was in a pyramid system, which is, I now carry on the legacy. Dr. Bell was murdered by the government in Michigan when he was appearing on the Jesse Ventura show. They shot a scalar beam weapon at him. And that was in 2000. I think he passed away in 2010. And anyway, so I carry on that legacy of the pyramids. And so I'm sharing my contacts. And more recently, I was beamed aboard in 1987. I had spaceships land in front of me. Famous contactee from the 50s, Gabriel Green, who ran for president on the UFO platform. He was a physicist and Alpha Centauri starseed, called me and said, "Master Hilarion is sending a teacher for you. You need to come to my home." this weekend. I was working in Palm Springs at a massage therapist, and I said, okay. He called me on a pager. It's before your time, I'm sure. So I went to the TikTok and I called, and all of a sudden, uh, the phone started ringing like a fire alarm. I was like, and I kind of sensed, and they were telepathically communicating with me, don't blow this meeting off, because I was in my early 20s, right? I could have just as easily met a hot chick and gone out, back, this is the 80s. I probably got some Coke and partied at a thing. So they impressed upon me. I picked up, and everyone's looking at me. Picked that thing up, was like obnoxious. It didn't ring, which is like fire alarm, just constant. And so I picked it up, and I heard a space echo went wah wah wah. Now Gabriel had played for me a conversation where I heard that space echo before that he had recorded. They gave him a phone call, so I knew this was them telling me to come up. And at this point in time, my experiences with the Pleiadians at Fred's house, where I was being taken out of body, I'd come down, I'd go up, he'd go, the temple is humming tonight. And I'd come up to the house. I'd light incense in all four corners on all three levels of the house. I'd sit myself down in front of the master crystal, and I'd begin my Tibetan breathing exercises, the breath of fire, or Kriya Yoga, which I had been taught by Babaji. And so from these experiences and going out of my body, I wasn't sure. I didn't know, but I would leave the house at 3 a.m. Sometimes he goes, you better go take an Epsom salt bath tonight. You're out pretty long. And so I go take Epsom salt bath. I get grounded at 3 a.m, still pitch black. I start driving down the hill from Arch Beach Heights in Laguna to my house up at the top of Bluebird. And I go in, I lived in the house, and just outside I lived tiny little apartment. It was a studio. Everything was there. And I would see this light pulsing, big light, waves of love. I would be crying constantly. I just want to know, why don't you show yourself? Talk to me. What's going on? And finally, he called me up, and there was a military guy who was sent up there, and I won't go through that story. I've gone through it many, many times, but basically he proved his psychic abilities and his thing. And he took me, Gabe, and another guy. He said, we're going for a demonstration. And we drove out into the desert, and a lot of synchron. He said, we're going to go 2.1 miles, 2.3 miles, and in 1.4, make a right. I said, are they telling you where to go? He says, yeah, they're telling me exactly where to go. I said, where are we going? He said, I don't know. So we end up, and then he goes, Gabe, you should know where we are. And he goes, that's Bob Short's house, but he's not home. So we go there. Another famous researcher, Bill Hamilton, came in. He talked, and we're going to go down the hill. You want to go? I said, no. And so we go over this hill into a bowl-like depression, so that anyone looking from the side on radar would not be able to see. And a spaceship appeared in the sky, a little dot in a second. It was standing there humming, pretty silent, just right there, pulsing right on the ground in front of the four of us. So now I'm establishing telepathic communication. And the first thing I heard was Semyasi, the Pleiadian cosmonaut, say, Rob, now you know. I said, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Can have a hippie, organic rainbow life and have high technology. I was crying, tears streaming down my face. And I said, we had a brief conversation, and I said, what should I do? And she said, tell this story to people, and they'll know by how you tell it that it's real. Well, not so much. I came back, I told my family, my friends, and they go, yeah, smoke a Nova Doobie and hang out with Fred Bell or whatever, right? And, this was the beginning of a long, arduous path of ridicule and disbelief, which I'll have to say gave me a little chip on my shoulder. And then the spaceship was there, and I said, will you come out? And she said, no. And she said, you think you're the Messiah? So I started crying, and laughing at the same time. The military guy was telepathic too. And he said, he looked at me and he'd been following the conversation. Have you seen enough? And I said, yeah, she's not coming out. He said, I know. So him and I started walking up the hill. Gabriel Green and Michael Allegian were there watching. And Michael Allegian shouts at me and says, why are you leaving? The ship is still here. And I look back and I said, she is not coming out. And it disappeared. And I proved kind of to myself and to them, I guess, I don't even know, but I'm not interested in a bigger, faster car. The technology was not important to me. For me, it was always about the spiritual message, the mission. I read Autobiography of a Yogi, Alice Bailey, Initiation, Human and Solar, and I was very interested in discovering the truth. And I've been knocking hard upon the door, and I've had many, many, many teachers throughout my life, real face-to-face contactees. I consider Alex Collier, who's a good friend of mine and who knows my story is real. Dr. Frank Stranges, and another contactee from South America, Louis Martens, and a woman now, very high-level Andromedan contactee, has children on board the ship. She's a commander of her own ship. She goes on board. She strategizes a year before the Ukraine war how the children are going to be saved, and there's a lot of secrets, I would say, that come from my long years of study about the extraterrestrials. So I've been chosen as a postman to deliver a message. I'm entrusted and I've been gifted with face-to-face meetings, which I've recorded questions and answers. I'm given voice recorded messages that I play every year. I've been given voice recorded messages from Valiant Thor, from the sixth dimensional moon-based commander on the backside of the moon, Commander Aura Rhanes. I met the chief of security, Alon, all through the grace of Dr. Raymond Keller, who is a very advanced contactee. So I continue that mission.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting because the whole idea of UFOs and ETs are really coming online now, but there's also the whole Project Bluebeam thing too, which is sort of I know, but so what do you but it is sort of bringing it forward, right? You know what I mean? In a weird way, we're bringing the conversation up.
Yeah.
So I have to hear your thoughts on that.
We have a spiritual battle on multiple dimensions going on right now. From the highest levels down to the lowest levels, there is a battle for man's souls. And we've had some intruders and interlopers here, or I'll call them administrators in the Heavenly Father's kingdom, who have defaulted and shirked their duties and have become part of let's call it a fallen force that has sought to parasite on humanity and many other worlds through very advanced technologies, utilizing artificial intelligence and extremely complex systems and backups of control on the earth. And with the technology existing today that the bad guys gave to the world governments in violation, behind the scenes, like Wizard of Oz, a Black Wizard of Oz, the elite families who are actually hybrids of these groups, these royal elite families, these bloodlines, have been taught to believe that they are the rulers of the world. In reality, they were going to become food for these fallen beings anyway. It's pretty dark. And the children, Valiant Thor is very much involved in saving the children, and that's one of the reasons that this intervention took place, because of the abduction and the violation of even allowing a soul to develop. So it's time that justice and balance be restored to this planet. And now there are 8 galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of inhabited planets and moons, hundreds of billions, throughout this galaxy alone, who are involved in an enforcement action. They have placed many of their representatives in incarnation on the earth to gather evidence, and I know several that have gone up to councils and been giving evidence to what's been going on the earth. The Venusians are the leaders and the head of that as our primary guardians. The Pleiadians are very advanced, and they were actually partially responsible for this fall. So everyone thinks the Pleiadians are great, but there's a lot of stars in that cluster in
Yeah.
the Taurus cloud. And there are many good Pleiadians. Pleiadians don't actually come from there. Many of them migrated. So very complex on the exopolitical level. There are others that have gone deep into this. Alex Collier, Elena Danaan is having a lot of experiences. I will say that not everyone has all the answers, and I know that they have their own apperceptions. And I know that, no disrespect to Elena Danaan, she doesn't think my story is real, but she'll find out one day. I promise you that. So I'm not worried about it. But they get experiences and they put some of their own ideas or perceptions on it. I'm trying to be very careful and not to deliver the message as it's given to me. So I'll just say that the Project Bluebeam is not going to be viable. They've had it. They did it in the earthquake over Turkey before. I mean, this is all a government psyop to create a false invasion. The invasion is already here. It's already happened. And the good wizard and the black wizards are hiding behind the scenes. And now the black wizards have been removed. Most of the extraterrestrials from the lower astral plane and the black universe, the anti-universe, and all that has been removed for the most part. There is a suicide crew, excuse me, of various races down here projecting a human image where they're really a demon. I'll just have to call that. So that is being removed in an enforcement action headed up by multiple galactic confederations. The confederation that our solar system will belong to is the Galactic Confederation of Light. That is made up of 601 worlds from 51 solar systems. And I received messages from the head of that federation. She's the Queen of Venus. Her name is Lady Orda directly. She has dispatched angel forces to meet me, and they come to my conferences. I'm not allowed to reveal who they are, but they do come. And she is the head of the solar council of this solar system on Saturn. And she is the Earth representative, or the Venusian, this solar system representative, along with probably others, to the super federations that represent this galaxy and are interacting with others. So people will, where are they? What are they doing? They're here all around, people. Open.
That's so funny.
They're increasing their presence. They're going to be seen in the sky. It's going to be as common as the moon.
Yeah.
They're waking people up slowly so you start to think. Your governments have nothing for you. Almost everyone in government has been compromised. There are a few bright lights there, but they don't have all the information. So there's the government child protection services involved in child trafficking. All of this stuff is so outrageous. Most people don't believe that anyone can be so evil and what's going on to sell out humanity, to exchange technology that happened in the 50s to that Eisenhower did not want to agree to sell out humanity in exchange for technology. But the ETs have to work with the established governments, and that was the power. So now they've been working behind the scenes. They are working directly with certain congressmen, with certain scientists. And in the 50s, they began a starseed contact of the of what we would call the civilian population. I have many mentors that I know personally from that original group. Howard Menger was a friend of mine, Dr. Frank Stranges, Gabriel Green. I knew Daniel Fry, and a lot of this is, let's say, it's coming forward. So I would just want to say positively, we now have someone who is ground command, and this woman is prophesied in the Bible as the woman who stands on the stands on the, I think, stands on the sun with a crown of moon and stars above her head, or stands on the earth with the crown of moon and stars. And she is in charge of the true quantum system. The quantum system is usually held by like an angelic force, but the default within the Earth's administration, when the demons were removed and the covenants ended, a 16,000-year agreement that the positive ETs had to honor for the ownership of the Earth, or alleged protectorate, which was really nothing but a criminal parasite group working with many other races in parasiting off of humanity for resources, as slave labor, as food, unfortunately, and other things. So this ended in 2012. She has been learning, and now in 2023, she's been in that position for 11 years. And she's in charge. She has risen to a position of financial and military responsibility. And she is working with galactic enforcement to remove the very, very advanced technology that has been disrupting portals through crystals and energy and implants in the human body, and disrupting mankind's connection to Almighty God. That intention is thwarted. I can give you a positive report that this will filter into the public in the next 2 or 3 years. Going to be very powerful. And there's a lot of accelerated processes now in the disclosure. The Office of Naval Intelligence is in charge of working with the positive extraterrestrials, primarily the Venusians, and other races now, of course, as well. But they're involved in working with Valiant Thor, who gave the world's governments advanced healing technology. And they misuse this technology in some of these very exotic cloning procedures. And some of this stuff is very difficult, but we've seen it. They're revealing it all in the movies, and we're hearing snippets of it. But I just want to report very positive things are coming forward. I will continue, as long as I don't violate my integrity with the Venusians, to increase in my contacts and to provide truth and a gnosis for humanity. I'm not the focus. I'm just a postman delivering the message. It's the message of love. It's a message of hope. It's a message of Christ, of recognizing that we're all children of a living, loving God, that we are to see each other and each person, even a reptilian, as a source of God, as a light of God within their eye. And if we recognize that we're all unified in that way, it becomes very difficult to be a billionaire. Well, maybe not for billionaires, but to walk by someone on the street that's homeless and suffering. It's easy to judge them. You've never walked in their moccasins. You don't know that's trauma that they felt from their parents or their life or their condition. Everyone deserves love. Everyone deserves respect. And we have to go into what's called the Global Restoration Program. That's taking place on many, many levels. Our extraterrestrial friends, who Kim Gogan calls the others, is in charge of the financial system, which is going to be realized very soon.
Going to be what?
Probably going to be realized very soon in the next year. They call it the Great Financial Reset. Now, this was a plan that was held a long time ago in the 80s under the Mana Trust. It was talked about by the advanced extraterrestrials, but they had to change it. It's the same plan. It's the same program. Anyone can submit a project to rebuild the Earth, and there are processes being put in place right now to allow bankers around the world to allow for people to have money to build things. Like, we're going to be able to, in Mount Shasta, we can't grow crops year round. We're going to have millions of dollars to create hydroponic gardens throughout our county. It can happen in LA.
Should
And
happen.
food,
Can you imagine?
heirloom quality food
Yeah.
from farm to table.
Yeah.
Most of our soil is destroyed now, so we're going to have to take down all the GMO crops. They're going to have to be destroyed. They're going to be hunted down and killed. We're going to put a straw in the ocean in the middle of the Sacramento Valley after we restore the planet, and we'll have water, abundant water. We're going to have maglev trains, just like the secret governments do, going 1,500 miles an hour. We won't have these old, antiquated trains that can be knocked over by agents who seek to destroy. So there's a lot of positive things happening behind the scenes. This won't be announced. People are going to have to accept and put aside their judgment, their fear, their religious beliefs. You can call those religious beliefs well-intended for the most part, but it all comes down to a spiritual gnosis. And the great teachers all were aligned on the same message. And yet the people want to be arrogant and egotistical and say, my God is better than your God. That's ridiculous. All the teachers are simply reflections of the living Father. So we are all one people under one infinite creative Father that doesn't have a personality. It's pure creative force.
Yeah.
So these simple, basic messages boil down to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And this includes serving others, making sure others are fed, clothed, sheltered. And we're gonna feed the world. We're gonna shelter the world, and we're gonna do it responsibly with non-harmful technology. We're gonna outlaw DDT, malathion, Roundup. We are gonna be given the technologies. We already have them. We built them. The elites are using them for themselves. We're going to have advanced healing technologies. All of this is just around the corner. So I'm giving you hope. I'm giving you faith. And I would like you to research. There's a lot of stuff. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you disabled the screen sharing. You made yourself host, but you can just allow
Okay.
share the screen. But I'm going to share with you folks my website. You can look at this, and I've got some amazing stuff out here. And let me know when you got that done.
I think I have to make you the host, FYI.
Oh gosh. No, look, there should be another option there. I guess you could make me a host and then take it back again.
See.
All right. It should keep recording.
Yeah.
Okay. So is it open now?
Yep. Well,
Okay.
I don't see anything actually now.
Okay. All right. So let me try to share and see if that is that working? Oh, it is. Okay. So you did a good job there. So I'm gonna share with you first I'll share with you my in my updates. I just sent out a important conference update. So this is an email that I put out here. And let me see here. Where is that here? Okay, here it is. So this is a newsletter. I'm having a summer conference. I have some amazing people coming this year. And I'm going to share you the pictures. And I got doing some stuff. You and I are going to be here in Glastonbury. But I have a lot of messages from the Venusians, and this is going to be a post And so this is a transcript of a recording that was given to me, talking about going on and my relationships with the Venusians. There is a transcript of a message from Valiant Thor here and other things. So some great stuff here. I'm going to share with you the website real quick where people can go. I'm just going to take them on a quick little tour here and show them where you want to go to research the website. So you click on this banner, it's going to take you to my summer conference. You're going to see all the speakers. Ismail Perez. Here we have a 200-year-old Venusian born on the fifth dimension. And she was brought here as a little girl, lived in Tibet, acclimatized to the earth, and has been sharing the truth of the spiritual teachings. Raymond Keller has been to Venus and lived there for 3.5 months of constant contact. I have a new Sasha Stone's not coming this year, but Ismail Perez and Brad Olson and another woman named Victoria Lindquist. I better go here real quick so I can show you this. She's an amazing woman, and she's down here. You can read everything about the conference. Hey, you want to know where to stay, you want to vend or something like that. So come down here, and we have this woman here, Victoria Liljenquist. She is a true commander. She goes on board the ships, and she predicted that there would be a UFO over the 2012 Olympics on camera 25 years before it happened. They interviewed her, and afterwards, 60 news outlets from around the world. She talked about the message of hope and love and peace that they were coming, and that was in 2012. So we have a lot of amazing people with experience here coming. So if we go back to my main site here, I just want to show you where these messages exist. And if you like, we can play a recording, and you can hear a Venusian speaking. They always are very positive about giving a message of love and hope. They don't want us to focus on the negativity. They don't want us to be in fear, because as you learned in Doom, fear is the mind killer, right? So I said, what's going on? And they said, Rob, don't obsess on the darkness. We have it well under control. And I've been learning, and they've been sharing with me, they have it well under control. So this is the Victory of the Light blog. I have other sections here. There's some really great stuff in here. So I'll just let you come to this website, this page here, and you can see this message is incredible from Luis Mostojo. Raymond's written many articles for me. And you come down here, 58 interviews with Omnek, the woman from Venus, many years. And then we have down here some of the messages from Raymond's articles and stuff. And then here we go into the actual questions and answers of the Venusians. You can read this one. So there's a lot of stuff in here that you can look. Some of the stuff is really fun. And
so that's all in your blog, right? I'll be sure to leave the link, your
yeah,
website too, so
yeah,
people can check it out.
yeah. So I wanted to, what was I going to do? I already shared that newsletter. So yeah, so let me just see here. Maybe let me share a picture of the Venusians,
Okay.
so we can just meet them. Okay. I'm going to show this one pretty quick here. They come in a red beret when they come as part of the Venusian Angel Force. These women were sent to Dr. Raymond Keller when at this meeting where he had written his first 2 books. He's finishing up his 8th book, and they call him the Venusian historian. He has a previous lifetime on Earth as the poet Virgil, and he went to Venus in that lifetime, and he went there for this lifetime. And Prince had a contact, as we talked about earlier. She wore a raspberry beret. These are little pens, little bees, golden bee pens, and they dress in this when in an official capacity on an Earth-based mission.
Mm.
I'm going to share with you one other picture of another. This is the woman I met. She has a Earth-based position. She does work on the Earth, so they prefer she doesn't. I don't really share her picture too much. I shared it with you earlier. She was wearing a raspberry beret, but this is her at Giant Rock. I took the pictures out before, but this is the Giant Rock, and on the left is the original Art Bell, Long John Nebel, and the other side is the original Frank Scully of
Mm.
who was a reporter researching the truth. And she became queen of outer space. And so they were living, talking, walking amongst us. There's over 5,000 of them, and probably 20,000 on any given day come and go. So they have Earth-based lives, and this is part of the planned awakening of humanity. They're going to come out and go, yeah, I'm a Venusian. And they're going to go, what? You're a nice guy. You're a great guy. I don't have any fear of you. And they'll go, no. And then they'll probably at some point get in the spaceship, and this will spread. There'll be like a housewife in India come down. She's far away on the hill. Everyone will come running to see the spaceship that's pulsing, and the woman they'll leave before all the people get there. And they go, what happened? And she'll go, oh my goodness, all the space people come. They're very friendly. So
That's
I love Indian people. They're wonderful, spiritual hearted people. People around the world will start having experiences, not people like me who've been claiming to have experiences.
new people.
New
People.
people.
Yeah.
This will lend credibility. Most people don't want to share the truth.
Yeah, it's true. It's so interesting. I want to share just a super quick story before we wrap it up. But I used to live in Malibu, right on the ocean, and I would always see spacecrafts. And like you, I had that experience where I felt that immense love and it brought me to tears. I felt like a layer was coming off of me. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was just like it just like opens you up, and you just it's just this absolute, I don't know, it touches your heart so deeply. Um and so yeah, it's just an incredible journey, but I was like, I don't have anybody to talk to. This is like so crazy. And people, I told a few friends, and then I'm like, so I was getting my hair done with my hairdresser, and I was like, I just told her because I wasn't shy to tell her. And then she ended up telling me, you know what, now that you mentioned it, I have had an experience. I remember there being a huge ship in my backyard, but I just blocked it out because it was just not relevant. So I have a feeling that a lot of people have memories that are sort of blocked off, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But I just want to say thank you so much, Rob, for your incredible time and all your information that you shared. It's so interesting. I definitely want to have continued series with you, so we'll continue on because you have so much to share, and I'm really excited. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'd be happy to do that. Do you ever do live stream?
I have done it. I'm not so tech savvy, but I can figure it out.
I'm not that well either. That's why I'm trying to
StreamYard.
StreamYard, and I have to go through Google and all that. But what I recommend is if we maybe do another show, and if you want, we can play some recordings of messages,
That'd be awesome.
questions from the audience,
That would
and
be very cool.
they can give me the hardball questions. There are going to be some in there. I just delete them if they get too trolly, but
Yeah.
they're open. They have serious questions, and they can hear the actual recordings and the messages themselves, which you can also hear if you carefully go through my blogs. The basic membership. If you go
Mhm.
back far enough, there's a free membership. I have a lot of recordings that you can actually listen to and stuff like that. So I thank you so very much, Radha, for having me on your show today. I'm coming down. We'll stay on after this recording's over, and let's get together down here next March, and I'll bring you as my guest to the Biomed Expo. Um, and if people want to come, I'm going to cruise down to Mexico, and all that's on my website. You can check it out. But I look forward to meeting you, and maybe we'll party down. And I want to check out some new restaurants in Laguna Beach. Maybe we'll.
Nice. Very cool. I can catch some UFOs.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.